Hello, mamas. Welcome back to the Inner Golden Hour podcast with me, your host, Kusum. And I know it has been a while since we had a chance to connect. We are done with the ups and downs of 2025 and done with the holiday season. We are done with the frantic start to January, and we are also done with getting hit by flu like it was nobody's business, done with all of that. And now we are back on this podcast in hopes that we will keep this going and no more hiccups along the way. Because truth be told, podcast is not always a place where my focus is, because this does take much more effort and time from my end to record podcasts versus showing up on my other social media platforms. But I love talking, as you all know. So it's always, I always have this itchy feeling when I don't really get on here and record podcast episodes because I, as always, have a shit ton to talk about. And more often than not, it's triggering and it's provocative. On that note, today, let's go ahead and chat about the real reason you ambitious working moms constantly feel behind. And I am going to come out and say it straight. It is not because your time management sucks. And it's not because you're not listening to the do less advice that you've been getting. And the reason you are burned out is also not because you're doing too much. Yes, I reckon that you don't even associate with the word burned out, but guess what? You're always tired and always exhausted, and you're always busy, busy, busy running from one thing to another to another. So, why do you think that is? If that's not burnout, I don't know what the heck it is. So, stop fucking around and lying to yourself that you are not burned out when you clearly are so beyond burnout. And on today's episode, I want to talk about why you're not burned out because you're doing too much. You're burned out because of what I'm about to reveal in this episode. So, if you're not triggered yet and turned off this episode, you will get to hear that real soon. And I'm also in a hurry to wrap up this episode because I got to go pick up my daughter for a fair that's happening at my son's school, an entrepreneur fair. And it's amazing to be a part of. I mean, it's amazing to see your kids become entrepreneurs, especially when you are an entrepreneur yourself. Not everybody has it in them to be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint hearted. You can excel in your career and do amazing things in your career. But when you become an entrepreneur, it takes a different kind of caliber to stick with this journey because there's no such thing as instant gratification when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's you have to show up every single day, even when nobody's clapping for you. You've got to show up every single day, even when you're not getting results. You've got to show up every single day, even when you fucking don't feel like it. So I am excited and stoked to see how this whole thing goes because I was giving a pep talk this morning about don't focus on the results, focus on how amazing you are feeling as you create this, whatever it is that you're creating for the fair. So I'm excited to go there and see how that goes today. But right now, back to you all.
Welcome to the Inner Golden Hour podcast, where dreams take flight, mind, body, and soul get a serious holistic upgrade, and personal evolution transforms into a shared spiritual adventure. Consider this your dedicated sanctuary for exploration, self discovery, unfiltered truths, diverse perspectives, and some much needed heart to heart real talk. Hi, I'm your host Kusum. I'm a mindset and manifestation life and business coach. Think of me as that best friend you never knew you needed. The one unafraid to call out your BS, deliver a dose of tough love, and hit you with some truth bombs. This podcast is more than just a series of episodes. It's a transformative experience guiding you to dig into your truths, ditch those old beliefs, and fully embrace the real authentic you. It's an invitation to align your mind, body, heart, and soul, to dream big, to explore what truly lights you up, and and to manifest a reality that surpasses your wildest imagination. Envision this space as the magical golden hour when everything radiates with a breathtaking glow, revealing the depths of your inner world. Now, come along and immerse yourself in a perpetual flow of inspiration, insights, and massive transformation across all areas of your life. Let's explore the extraordinary, one enlightening episode at a time.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. And let me start this episode in a way that is going to likely feel a lot uncomfortable for you all because I'm going to just say it out loud. Nobody else is saying this, but somebody's got to do that. So I'm going to be the person who's going to do it. If time management actually worked, you wouldn't be struggling and suffering as much as you are today. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way at all. I mean very literally. I am not exaggerating one bit because if managing your time better and doing less or finding balance actually solved all of the problems you're living inside of right now, you would have felt that relief by now. Because guess what? You are smart, you're intelligent, you're capable, you're reliable, you're resilient. And yet you're struggling and suffering. And you wouldn't still feel like you're slightly behind no matter how much you get done. You wouldn't still feel like your brain never fully shuts off. And you wouldn't still feel like life is something you're constantly trying to keep up with instead of actually living inside it, actually inhibiting. And yet, here you are, listening to another podcast, looking for a language, looking for clarity, looking for something that finally explains why the heck nothing you've ever tried has worked for you. What the heck is wrong with you? Now, that alone tells me a lot about you because I'm going to again tell you something that nobody else is perhaps telling you. You are not struggling and suffering because you're lazy. And it's also not because you're unmotivated. It's also not because you're disorganized. You're someone who has already tried every darn thing. You've tried the planners. You've tried setting boundaries. You tried waking up earlier or being more intentional or batching or delegating or doing less. And still, there's this feeling that follows you around almost like a low hum in the background of your life. That feeling of being behind, not dramatically behind, not falling apart, just never fully caught up. And that's the part that messes with your head because on paper, your life should work. Your life's amazing. Like I said, you're capable, you're competent, you're responsible, you handle all of the things, which makes it even more hard to explain why you feel the way you do without sounding ungrateful and or dramatic at the same time, or worse yet, like you're complaining about a life you actually chose. So most women don't say anything. What they keep doing is they keep adjusting, tweaking, trying harder, and they continue to quietly wonder, why does this still feel so hard? So in this episode, I'm not giving you another strategy. There's a time and place for that. But first, let's call a spade a spade. So, in this episode, I'm going to tell you the truth most ambitious working moms have never been told. The problem is not that you're doing too much, and it's definitely not that you need to do less. The problem is that you've been trying to solve the wrong problem, solve the wrong thing. Now, before we go any further, I want to be very clear about who this episode is for. This episode is not for someone who hates responsibility and wants to opt out of their current circumstances. But this episode is for women who actually care. You care about your kids, you care about your work, you care about doing things well. You are the kind of person people actually rely on, the kind of person who figures shit out, and the kind of person who doesn't drop the ball easily, which is exactly why the advice you've been given has continued to fail you because most mainstream advice assumes the problem is effort. And effort is the one thing you already give in abundance, which is what women like you fail to understand. They feel like they're not putting in enough effort. And here's where I want you to continue to stay with me because this is the first big shift. Because most ambitious working moms think they feel behind because they don't have enough time. But what they're actually experiencing is something much, 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 much deeper. They are living in this constant state of internal catch up. Even when something is done, your mind doesn't release that and let it go. Even when you sit down, you're still mentally standing. Even when you rest, there's an undercurrent of urgency running through you. And that urgency isn't coming from your calendar, it's coming from your nervous system and your identity. And until you understand that, every solution that you ever try to implement will continue to feel temporary at best and suffocating at worst. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, this is heading uncomfortably close to what I'm feeling or what I'm not wanting to acknowledge. If that's the case, then that's great. That means we are finally talking about the real thing. Because the reason balance, time management, and doing less feel like bad advice isn't because they are wrong in theory. In theory, they work perfectly fine. But the thing is, they are wrong for you. So let's actually take a closer look at why that is the case. So, first and foremost, I've been saying this thing that I keep hearing from all of the women that I talk to is the fact that they always feel behind and they're always playing catch up. So, now let's first actually look at this feeling of being behind because this is the thread that runs through everything. And this is what I always hear from most ambitious working moms. They say things like, I just need more time. I need to manage my time better. Or once this season passes, things are going to calm down and then I will not feel behind anymore. But what you all are actually describing isn't a scheduling issue, it is a state of being issue. It's waking up already feeling like the day is chasing you. It's feeling pressure before anything has technically gone wrong. And it's ending the day with the sense that no matter how much you did, it wasn't enough to create real spaciousness. And this is the most important thing that many people miss, the fact that you're not trying to get ahead, the fact that you're simply trying to catch up to yourself, because somewhere along the way, your inner peace and your outer life stopped matching. While your life kept expanding, more responsibility, more roles, more people depending on you, but the way you were taught to support yourself internally never evolved with all of these added roles and responsibilities and people depending on you. So instead of updating your internal system, you started running faster inside the system that currently or previously existed. And this is exactly what creates that constant low level urgency. It's not the panic, it's not the chaos, but just the subtle sense that you need to stay on top of things or something's gonna slip or you're gonna drop the ball somewhere. And if you're actually honest, you can't even actually remember the last time you felt you were truly done, even when you went on vacations, even on weekends, even during your rest period, there's always a mental tab that's open. I hear this from high achieving women all the time that they can never completely shut off. They don't know how to just rest, how to just sit down without constantly doing something or worse yet, constantly thinking about something or the other that needs to get done. Now, this is where I want to slow down and get very precise because this is not about your personality. This isn't because you're type A. This isn't because you're simply driven. This isn't because you chose a demanding life, but because most ambitious working moms learn early on that being competent, reliable, and ahead of things was how they stayed safe. Safe emotionally, safe relationally, safe in their own sense of worth. And maybe you were even praised for being responsible. Maybe you were the one who figured things out all the time. Or maybe you learned that being low maintenance or capable was always rewarded. So your system, actually, your internal system, learned a quiet rule. If I stay on top of things, I will be okay. And that rule doesn't disappear when you become a mother or when you grow in your career. It just comes right along with you. It only gets louder and louder and louder because now the stakes are even higher. And it's not just your reputation anymore. It's your children, your family, your livelihood. So, what does your nervous system do? It adapts by staying alert, not in a dramatic fight or flight way, even in an extremely vigilant way. Always scanning, always anticipating, always mentally preparing. And this is why the advice to just relax or just do less lands so poorly with you. And you know how I know all of this? Because I used to be that person myself once upon a time. So you don't get to come around and tell me, but Kusum, your life is different. Maybe you never went through all of this. Trust me, I went through all of this and then some. And that's exactly how I am able to spot these patterns in people like you just in one conversation. And that's exactly how I understand that to your system, doing less doesn't feel like relief. It actually feels like exposure. It feels like letting go of the very thing that has actually kept you functioning. So when someone says, why don't you just slow down? What your body hears is, why don't you just stop being safe? So, of course, what are you going to do? You're going to resist that advice. Well, anyone would, right? Like, if you tell your body to stop being safe, you are going to run far, far, far away from that advice. And here's where it gets even more interesting because this usually brings up a lot of emotion for women when they finally see these missing connections. Because you have been trying to solve this by changing what you do. But the real issue is how much you're actually holding internally, the responsibility that you're carrying in your body, not just in your calendar. Your calendar is the easy thing to handle because you're still the one who's remembering. You're still the one that's anticipating. You're still the one that's thinking three steps ahead of what might go wrong and plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, everything. And so obviously, you are the one that's holding the invisible threads together. And when that becomes your baseline, life starts to feel like a permanent state of catch up even when nothing is technically wrong. And this is why you can have a day where you check everything off the list and still feel unsettled because the list was never the problem, it was the pressure underneath. And now, let me say something that might feel very validating and at the same time very confronting as well. This isn't something you caused, but it is definitely something you've been unknowingly maintaining and carrying with you because no one ever gave you a different way to relate to responsibility. So you internalized all of this. And over time, that internal compression starts to show up as exhaustion, irritability, mental fog, or that quiet thought of, I don't even know what I want anymore. Right? How many times have you told yourself that? And all of that is not because you don't want anything, but because your system is tired of carrying everything alone. Now, before we move on, because I still have a lot that I want to talk to you about here, I want to pause here and ask you a question. Not for you to answer out loud, but just simply notice it. When was the last time you did something and actually felt complete afterward? Not productive, not accomplished, but complete. And if you are like most of my clients that I work with, you really have to think hard about this. And that, in fact, is going to tell you everything you need to know. Because a life that feels constantly behind isn't actually missing time, it's missing resolution. So let's pause there. And in the next part of this episode, we are going to talk about why the solutions you've been offered actually is making things worse for you instead of better. Again, like I said, not because they're bad ideas, but because they're trying to fix the wrong problem, wrong issue at hand. So, like I said, I have to hop off right now and go pick up my daughter and have a fun evening with my family and friends. So, on that note, I will leave you with this thought as you go into the weekend. Well, actually, I might publish this episode on Monday. So, as you go into the new week, something for you to ponder upon and pay close attention to everything that you've heard here and everything that you picked up along the way. And just pay attention to all of those things as you go about your day, as you go about your week. And we'll come back here next week, continuing along on this conversation. So until then, be bold enough to have this internal conversation with yourself. I know you can do it. I trust in you. All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of this podcast. I appreciate your time, your presence, your commitment, and your willingness to embark on this journey of self discovery, transformation, and manifestation. If anything you heard today resonated with you, sparked new insights, or brought about aha moments, I'd love to hear all about them. So please share your thoughts by tagging me on social media at Passion Purpose Passport and follow me there for more inspiring content and connection. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and show your support by liking, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. The more good we share with the world, the more the universe unfolds its magic for us. It's not just good karma, it's the universal law, aka Manifestation 101. On that note, align your mind, body, heart, and soul with your deepest desires for limitless possibilities. Remember, every step you take, every action you choose ripples through the universe, shaping the reality you wish to experience. Until next time, keep basking in the brilliance of your inner golden hour and keep manifesting miracles.